Good morning, everyone. Today we will study the various forms which are available for the private sector. First form, you can see there are so many forms in this chapter. For example, sole trade, joint Hindu family, partnership, cooperative society, joint stock company. So in this chapter, we are going to study in detail the various forms which are there available for the private sector. Let us see the first one, that is sole trade. Now in sole trade, what is actually sole trade? Sole trade is also known as sole proprietor. What is sole trade? When a single person is managing the business, that is sole trade. Then complete liability, whatever affairs are there of the business will lie with the sole trader only. He is the only person, he or she is the only person to take all the decisions. There are various forms you can see which are available on the screen. We'll study them in detail. See the definition. A sole proprietorship is a business owned and operated by one individual. So many examples are written. For example, in your village, in your city, town, you can see number of shops are there in every nook and corner. They belongs to the sole trade form, where a single person is managing the complete business affairs. Now let us see the features. As here you can see in the screen, Mr. Sumit, he is a single owner, you can see. This is an example of sole trade, which normally we are seeing daily in our practical life. You all are well aware of all these things. Then, now let us see the features. First feature you can see single ownership. It means in sole trade, a single person will manage the complete business. There is nobody to interfere. Okay. Then the second you can see formation and closure. Formation and closure both are very simple. Why it is simple? Why I am saying like this? Because there are very few legal formalities which are there. Very less formalities are there. Easily it can be started and easily it can be closed also as and when required. Third point you can see in feature is unlimited liability. Yes, you need to understand actually what is unlimited liability. Unlimited liability means unlimited means suppose if any loss is there, okay, if any loss is there in the business, then what will happen? Then the personal property is also involved into the business. That is unlimited liability. Okay. Then next you can see is one man control. Complete control lies with the sole trader only. That's what he said, it is a one man control. Then next one you can see feature is profit and risk. Whatever profits are there in the business will be borne by the sole trader only, and whatever losses, it's not necessary that always profits are always there. There can be losses also. So whatever losses are there will also lie with the sole trader only. That's what he said, that he or she in sole trade, the sole trader is the only recipient of profit as well as complete risk bearer also. Next, let us see the advantages. First one is easy to start. Yes, no doubt. This sole trade is very easy to start, as we have already seen that there are very few legal formalities for the formation as well as for closure also. Then next point you can see no registration. Yes, in some forms we'll see later whether it is a company or cooperative society, their registration is compulsory, but here registration is not compulsory. So again formalities are less. Then third point you can see in advantages, no profit sharing. Yes, we have seen in the features that whatever profits are there in the business will be bear by the sole trader only. Easy decision making. Next point, why decision making is easy? Because as the one person is managing the business, there is nobody to interfere. He or she did not ask to the other members or the other persons regarding any decision. Whatever decision is required, it will be taken quickly by the sole trader. Then next point you can see easy to wind up. Yes, it's true. As formalities are very less, as and when required, business can be closed. It can be shut down. Then next one, secrets. Obviously, the business secrets lie with the sole trader only, because secrets are leaked when more than one member are there, then there are chances that secret can be leaked outside. But here, as one person is managing the business, secrets of the business lie with the sole trader only. Then next one, no corporate taxes. Yes, it is also true. Corporate taxes are not there in this form. Then let us see the disadvantages. First one you can see unlimited liability. Yes, it's very true. Liability of sole trade is unlimited because, as we have discussed, that if suppose any loss is there in the business, suppose the businessman is unable to pay the creditors or the bank loans or the bills payable, then what will happen? Finally, they have to pay, whether they have to sold out their property for that thing. Okay. Then next one you can see disadvantages. Employee benefit, medical insurance premium not deductible taxes. Yes, see what happened here, these benefits which are there, actually they are not deducted from the tax, so it's again a disadvantage for the sole trader. Then raising funds, it's also not easy to raise funds from the public, because as the business, they are not registered, even they are not publishing their balance sheet, their financial statements in the periodicals or magazines or other media. So generally their people, general public is unaware about the business, so they may have problem in raising the funds. Then limited life, yes, it's again a disadvantages. Why it is said that, suppose if any problem is there with the sole trader, supposing if any suddenly if any mishappening is there, or any accident happened, or we can say that, suppose if any lunatic problem is there. What is lunatic problem? Lunatic means it is a problem related to the mind. Okay, suppose if any other problem like insolvency is there, then in these conditions what will happen? Finally business may close down. Business may close down. That's why it is said that limited life is there. Suppose if somebody is there to manage, it's okay, it will be managed, but it's not necessary that always somebody is there in the family, or some relatives are there. In that condition business has to be closed down. Then last point you can see, loss in absence. Obviously, suppose if some urgent work is there, then sole trader has to move somewhere. Okay, or suppose if high fever is there, if he or she they are unable to go to their business, go to their shop, then what will happen? A big loss will be there, because there is nobody else to attend that. So that's why it is said that there is a loss when absence is there. When the sole trader is unable to attend the shop, then loss will be there. Then next you can see suitability. When this sole trader firm will be suitable, for what type of business it will be suitable. For business, you can see where capital required is small and risk involvement is not heavy, this type of firm is suitable. It is also considered suitable for production of goods which involves manual skill, handicrafts, then filigree works, then jewelry, tailoring, hair cutting, etc. Okay, this was regarding the sole trade. This is first form which what we are seeing in this chapter. Now let us see the next one, partnership. Partnership is also a very common form which is mostly used by number of groups for their workings. First of all, you should understand the definition of partnership. According to Indian Partnership Act 1932, what is a partnership? It is actually a relation between persons, two or more, which have come together to carry on business, which can be carried on by all or any of them acting for all, is known as partnership. Okay, it's a relation between two or more persons have come together to share profits. Business can be carried on by all or any of them acting for all. Now here individually every member is known as a partner, and collectively all the members are known as partnership firm. It is governed by Indian Partnership Act 1932. Now let us see the characteristics of partnership firms. Yes, here the maximum number of partners, if we are talking of regarding the 1932 Act, here maximum number is 20. But if suppose if banking company is there, then maximum number will be 10. Okay, then you can see a contrast. Suppose if we are talking about 2013 Act, here maximum number will be 50. So minimum number will be 2 and maximum will be 50. This question is asked in class 12th also. Okay, so please note this and be attentive. Keep this in your mind. Then contractual relationship. Now here see, whatever is to be done in partnership depends on the partnership deed. Now the question arises, what is deed actually? A written agreement is known as deed, which contain all the detail regarding the partnership. Details in the sense, for example, it can be name if of the firm, it can name of partners, address, of the other locations and all, where their office will be located. Then how they are going to deal with the conflicts. Then what will be the percent of interest on capital, interest on drawing, what will be the profit sharing ratio, how they will treat with the drawings and all, what will be the interest on drawings. So many other points can be there in the partnership deed. Then competence of partners. Here you can see these minors and insolvent persons are not eligible to become a partner in the partnership firm. Then you can see characteristics of partnership firm. Fourth, we are seeing sharings of profit and loss. See, normally, generally it is always mentioned in the deed what will be the profit sharing ratio. Okay, either it can be it will be given in the deed, or if not, then it may be according to the capital ratio. If nothing is mentioned, then it will be equal. The next point you can see transfer of interest. No partner can sell or transfer their interest in the firm to anyone. It's not allowed without the consent of the other partners. But by taking the consent, it can be done. But without consent, it's not allowed. Then next one, voluntary registration. Registration, regarding the registration, it is optional. Registration can be done or not. It depends on the firm's own decision. But generally, registration is preferred by the firm because there are so many advantages of being a firm get registered. Okay, so it is optional actually. It's voluntary. Then let us see the advantages. It's easy to start. Yes, again here also, as we have seen, formalities are also less, and again registration is optional. So it's easy to start a partnership business. Then second point, you can see the ability to raise funds. Funds can be raised from the outside also. So it is also advantage. Then more skilled person. Suppose here actually what is happening? Two or more persons are coming together to do the business. So obviously in Sole Trade we have seen that was a demerit, that managerial skills were not there. It's not possible a single person will have all the managerial skill. But here, since the number is more, work will be divided according to the expertise. So it's easy that more skilled person will be there and job will also be done more skillfully. Then loss sharing. As profits are shared, it does not mean that only profits are shared. Losses will also be shared equally if it is there in the business according to the ratio. Then no loss in absence. Suppose if any one partner is out because of some other reasons and all, it can be that work can be managed by the other partners also. So if absence is there, then it does not mean that the work will stop. Now let us see the disadvantages. Unlimited liability. Yes, like Sole Trade also, here also, if suppose any loss is there, then personal properties of partners will be involved in the business to pay the outside debts. That's why it is said that liability is unlimited, right? Then next is profit sharing. Yes, profit sharing, as we have discussed, it is according to the ratio. Okay. So with the profits, losses are also equally shared. That's again it's the disadvantages. Then conflicts. Next point, conflicts also, obviously it's genuine that if more than two persons are there are chances of conflicts. हम बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में कि अगर घर में बर्तन है तो बजेंगे ही. That is the same thing applied in the business also. If more than two partners are there, then chances of conflicts is always there. Then limited life. Yes, it is generally said that partnership is also having a point of lack of continuity, because suppose if any change is there in the partnership firm, or any partner dies, any partners want to retire from the firm, then that deed has to be end for that particular moment, and if the partner wants to continue, they can continue. So limited life is the point. Then transferability is difficult, as we have seen. If all partners are ready to do that, if with the consent of all the partners, it can be transferred. Otherwise it's very difficult to transfer the business. Partnership does not allow without the consent of the all. Then Suitability, where the partnership form will be suitable. Let us see. This is also suitable for smaller business like sole trade, but in which type? Generally, it can be in the retail or wholesale trade, professional services, or medium-sized mercantile houses, business houses, small one, or small manufacturing units. So, we have seen today the sole trade form and the partnership form. Okay. Yes, again, once again, good morning, everyone. In the previous video, we have seen two forms, that is sole trade and partnership. Now we are going to see the next form, that is joint stock company. First of all, you need to understand what is joint stock company. See, it's a voluntary association of person to carry on business. Members of joint stock company are known as shareholders, okay? And the capital is known as share capital. Which act will govern the joint stock company? Indian Companies Act 2013. Various examples are written. You can see it's Tata Iron and Steel, Reliance Industries, SAIL, then Ponds India Limited. These all are examples of joint stock company. So one joint stock company is a voluntary association of persons who come together to carry on the business. Okay, and it is governed by Companies Act 2013. Now let us see the features of joint stock company. First one, it's an artificial person. As we have seen in the sole trade and sole trade, we have seen that no separate entity was there. Similarly, in partnership also we have seen no separate entity. It means what? No separate entity means what? It means according to the law, in the eyes of law, both the shop and the person are same. But here it's not like that. If we are talking about joint stock company, then according to the law, in the code of law, in the eyes of law, they treat the company as a separate person and the members as a separate persons. So here the point is separate legal entity. Means both are separate legal bodies. Both are having separate legal existence, we can say. Then next point you can see common seal. See, in companies, always suppose if any document is there, then it has some common seal has to be there, which is stamped on the document. Same seal will be used for all the document. That's why it is a common seal, we can say. This is one of the feature. Then next you can see perpetual existence. As we have seen in the sole trade and partnership that if any mishappening is there, then the chances of closing down is there. Or in partnership, we have seen that agreement is ended for the time being. If partners want, they can continue. But here it does not like that. If suppose any mishappening is there with any member or any shareholder, any death is there, then it does not mean that the company will stop. Company will always continue and continue according to the going concern concept. It will continue forever. It will not be affected with the retirement, admission, or any other things of the members. Next point is limited liability. Yes, it's true here. In the previous forms, we have seen liability was unlimited. It means personal property was also involved in the business. But here it's not like that. Personal property will not be involved. Every member, every shareholder is liable to the extent of the shares they have purchased. That's why the point is there, limited liability. Next point, you can see transferability of shares. Yes, here shares are easily transferable from one person to another. As we have seen, it was not possible in the previous forms. Now let us have a view of the advantages of joint stock company. First point, limited liability, same point as we have seen in the feature. Then continuity of existence, same point again. Here business will continue forever. It will not be affected with the admission, death, or any other change of the members. Next point, benefits of large scale operation. Obviously, since joint stock company are working on a very big level, on a very large scale, bulk we can say. That's why they will have a benefits of the large scale production. Definitely they will have economies of scale, we can say. Then professional management. This joint stock company, here we as we have seen in most of the companies, different departments are there, and then experts are there in all the departments, managers are there. So, and they all are expert in their own sector. So here we can say that complete the management, whatever management is there in the companies, joint stock companies, completely professionals, as they are experts in their own areas, experts in their own sectors. This point was lacking in the sole trade and the partnership. Partnership still, since more persons were there, they were skilled, we have seen. But in sole trade, this point was completely lacking. Next is social benefit. Yes, these joint stock companies are also working for the social sectors also. Now let us see the disadvantages. Formation is not easy. It's true, because so many legal formalities are there. It's not easy to start a company. Then control by group. Yes, it's not controlled by a single member or some group of person, but it is completely controlled by a group. Then excessive government control. Yes, generally government is having a control where government is lending some funds and all. Government are many times appointing their own member also in the board of directors. So here that's why it is a limitations. Then delay in policy decisions, because since the number of members are more, it will take time in taking the decision, because complete chain has to be followed for every decision. Complete hierarchy has to be followed. So there can be chances are there that there can be delay in the policy making. So these are the disadvantages of joint stock company. Now let us see the suitability of joint stock company. You can see generally suitable where the business is quite large, area of operation is widespread, banking and insurance can be. Now let us see the difference between the public and the private company. First basis will be subscription from the public. Public company can invite the general public to subscribe the shares, but private company cannot do that. They cannot offer the general public for subscription. Second point, second basis is transfer of shares. In public company, it can be easily transferred, but in private company, the restriction is there to transfer the shares in a private company. Then a minimum number and maximum number, you can see. Public company should have at least 7 members minimum, and private company should have at least 2. Maximum it can be 200 in a private company. In public company, there is no such limit. You can see next point, no such limit in public company, and here it is 200 members. Then necessity for maintaining a register. In public company, it is required to file its account with the registrar, but here in the private company, filing of account is not required by the private company. This topic is also important. Please go through it properly. Again, you can see information regarding the private and the public company. You can see the first one, minimum maximum, as we have seen previously. Minimum number of directors in private, it will be 2, and in public it will be 3. Private companies are closely held, whereas public companies are widely held. Public subscription, as we have seen in the previous screen, in private companies it is prohibited, whereas it's allowed in public company. Compliance is it is less as compared to the public company in private sector, as in public more as compared to the private sector. Then share transferability in private, already we have seen it's not allowed. In public company it can be easily transferred. Okay, it's an important one. Now let us see the topic, choice of forms of business organization. Choice we'll see later on. Now first let us see the form cooperative society. Choice we'll see in the end. Yes, it is also one of the form of the business. Any 10 minimum number of person is 10 here. They can form a cooperative society. It is working under the Cooperative Societies Act 1912. What are the main objectives? Rendering service rather than earning profit, and it's generally their form for mutual help, for helping each other, generally of similar nature. Similar nature members or similar work members come together and they form a company for their own mutual benefits, and profits will not be shared, rather than profits will be utilized for the company, for the cooperative societies only. Self-help is the main motto actually here, in place of dependence. Now see what are the various types of cooperative society. You can see consumer cooperative, producers, marketing and housing. There are a number of types of cooperative societies. Now let us see the characters. Voluntary association, first one. It's a voluntary association where the members are coming voluntarily and they're forming their cooperative society. Nobody is going to force them or put some portion on them that you have to start a company or you have to become a member of the company, but they are voluntarily doing all these things. Then membership, you can see minimum is 10 and maximum is unlimited. Next point you can see. Third point, by mistake it is written here 4. Service motto, always these companies are formed to have because their motto is service providing rather than earning profits. Then democratic setup, it is also one of the feature here. Then next one, sources of finances. Here also the finance can be raised through shares. It can be borrowed from the outside market. It can be borrowed from capital market also. Then return on capital. Next point you can see return on capital. Generally see whatever return will be there on the capital will also be used for the welfare of the society only, for upbringing the society. Okay, so these were the features. Then what is the suitability of cooperative societies? They are generally suitable for small and medium size operations. Large size, you can see it is IFCO, Farmers and Indian Farmers and Fertilizers Cooperative, and Carrier Cooperative processing milk under the brand name Amul are the illustrious exceptions. Otherwise, generally it is suitable for a small and medium size operations. Before that, let us see what are the various factors which to be kept in mind before selecting the form of business organizations. First is nature of business. What kind of business a businessman wants to start, whether it's a small, large, medium scale, in which particular sector, in which product. There all the forms has to be studied, and then it will be decided what form will be most suitable. If it is small business, sole trade can be suitable. If it's very large, then company form can be suitable. Then next thing to be kept in mind is cost and ease in starting business. Again, it depends on the funds which are available with the group or person, what form they will select. If funds are less, sole trade can be selected. If more, other forms can be also be selected. And ease in starting. As we have seen, sole trade is very simple to start because there are no legal formalities, or very less we can say. But in company, there are number of formalities. So in detail, it has to be studied. All the forms have to be studied in detail. That which form will be more suitable. Then it should be decided. It should never be decided in hurry. Lot of study has to be done. Lot of surveys has to be done. All points have to be kept in mind. Detailed investigation has to be done, and then it has to be decided. Because once the investment is done in the business, it's not easy to change it. Changes cannot be done so easily, so decision has to be taken after a detailed study. Next is liability. Liability also we have to compare the various forms where the liability is limited, in which form it is unlimited, then only selection should be done. Then continuity. Continuity point has also be in detail. It has to be seen that what will be the effect on the continuity. If we are forming a sole trade business, obviously the continuity will be there less. There will be lack of continuity, because if any mishappening is there, business has to be closed down. But it will not affect if we are selecting a company form of business, because it will not have effect on the continuity. In partnership, it has to be ended for the time being. Then a new deed can be made, and again the business can be started in partnership form. So it has to be compared actually. All the forms has to be compared. Then next point which has to be kept in mind is management ability. In sole trade, we have seen there is a lack of managerial skill because a single person is there. Sufficient funds are also not there actually. That limitation was there in sole trade. But in company, we have seen there is managerial skills are there, because experts are there, managers are there in all the sectors. Managers are there in all the sectors. So management ability point has to be seen in detail, that where it is there and where it's lacking actually. Okay. Then next one is capital requirement. Again, it has to be studied in detail, that where the capital requirement, where the capital required will be less and where it will be more. If it is a company form, then from the shares actually the money is raised. Capital required is large, very large actually, but in sole trade, if the less capital investment also it can be started, a very small sole trade. So it depends how much capital is available and how much capital can be arranged from outside. That also has to be seen, how much capital can be raised from the financial institutions or banks or through other sources. There are a number of sources which can be used for raising the finance also. Then degree of control. Again, this is also important point, that what is actually the concept. When anybody wants to start the business or any firm want to start the business, they will see whether they want to have a complete control over the business, or whether they are caring for that thing, or whether they are whether they don't care actually, that if control is diluted or not. Suppose if complete control is required, then sole trade is the best form. But if dilution, they don't care actually whether owners are more, company form can also be selected. So degree of control has also been taken into view before starting the business. Okay. So here we have done the second chapter. We have done the complete forms of the business organizations, various forms we have seen, and in the end we have seen what are the various factors actually which has to be kept in mind before starting the business. I hope you understood the chapter. If any query is there, any problem is there related to the PPT or related to the explanation and all, any point, you can write in the comment. Okay. Have a nice day.